everyone, and welcome back to the Astral Tourist, where we take spins around strange dimensions and sip espresso with fascinating beings. I am on a break, however, you can consider this a bonus episode. Yay! This one's just too good not to share, so I had to tuck it in here. Last night, I set a crystal clear intention to astral project straight into the fourth dimension, maybe even shoot for Venus or 5D, the mental plane. I didn't figure I'd get that far, but hey, I have goals in life and in the astral, huh? And if the cosmic currents were feeling generous, I figured I would go along with them. I just was feeling really good. And I'd been buzzing all day from hearing a friend's wild Venus journey. Now, this is Astral Club. Definitely look him up if you have not heard of him or something. I'm sure most of my listeners have already, but if not, Astral Club, did this wonderful Venus episode that really inspired me. And I thought I'd kind of lock into that lightness and emotion and see how far I could get, So, before I finished slipping into sleep, I was out of my body. And I should also mention here, I have chronic fatigue and it has been letting up now. So sometimes it swells up. Remember the big move and everything for the listeners who do listen all the time. So that's abating too. And so my mind has been getting back into this really good place. So I was wishing out. And there was that familiar blackout phase. Astral Club and I share that. And so do others that I've read about. So it's not just us two or something. Quite a few people get that phase where there's just this brief void of nothing or something. So there was this fast forward motion. Sometimes I can feel motion when there's that nothing. And then lucidity snapped back into focus. So I found myself inside a massive temple, but I didn't know it was a temple at first. It was more looked like a giant mansion. So it didn't feel ceremonial or rigid. It was open, alive. There were a lot of people in there, curious minds. I was getting the buzz telepathically, and that's where I met him. So this guy, Martin Skursky, or maybe Slursky, he wrote his name out. He tried to write it out in cursive on paper for me. And the name was wiggling on the paper, So it was Skursky or Slursky, but I got the Martin part for sure. So hey, Martin, if there's a Marty out there. I think this guy is passed on though. But anyway, it... when you're slightly out of phase or something, but yeah, he wasn't out of phase. He became crystal clear in my mind. He was tall, thin, dressed in sleek black with a coat that shimmered just enough to hint at Hollywood glam. I was picking up Hollywood glam off him. Oh my gosh. Dark curls in his hair, easy posture. That was practiced but easy. An actor for sure or something, but he was also actually feeling easy. And the energy of someone who had lived, loads of lifetimes. Been there, done that, and just hanging out, wherever I had landed myself. Confident, relaxed. He totally belonged there. So we headed off instantly, swapping astral travel stories, which I wish I could remember more of his. There was this one big desert film he was just really into. I remember that. And, I mentioned this vibrant water world I'd visited once. And his eyes lit up like glitter. I don't know. But he was he said he'd never heard of such a place and that it would make a phenomenal film. And I don't even know which water world it really was. I've been to so many in the astral. Well, not so many, not hundreds. But I wouldn't know which one if I went back through all my water world journal stuff. And of course, he's a filmmaker, he told me. And that made perfect sense. And my mind was spinning, and telepathy thoughts come in all over the place. And I was just like wrapping my mind around the entire place. When a woman came over and gave me an espresso, and then another one, like she gave me one, and then she came back and said, "Oh, you're new here," and gave me a second one. So I don't know. I managed to like get some caffeine. Just a light joke there. In the astral, eating helps. It really does. Eating or drinking things. So they were offering me part of their energy, which is a big deal. I mean, that was really nice to be hosted by these people. And it wasn't just him. I mean, there was her too and all the other people around. So this is like a community. And, I was taking a moment to absorb the setting, and I was thinking, this is a community. Soft ethereal lighting, flowing architecture, constant flowing of various beings in and out. When I was like doing the 360 around the mansion room, which also kind of resembled a temple. And so I was kind of like, my mind was like flickering about all of that. So Martin, he wanted to go to a different temple. So he wrapped his form around mine really loosely, but nice, like a warm hug and luminous. And this is common for travel. Touch is, it's hard to describe in the astral, but like, it's like an intermingling of atoms or something. Anyway, it's like being hugged by starlight, and we were moving sideways. So I took note of that we were going horizontally. It was a smooth and elegant like move that he did with the vibrations, like sliding across frequencies, like doing the what's that move Michael Jackson did, like the moonwalk. Yeah, only horizontally. So then we arrived in a much grander temple, more like a celestial mansion. So I think we actually moved from 4D to 5D, but I didn't want to like put 5D in case it really wasn't. Like it could have been like almost there, like a liminal space between the astral and the mental realms. So, think high 4D, low 5D. It wasn't as crystalline clear as I've seen in higher dimensional 5D. So like we're like there in one of those liminal zones in the phase there. He showed me what looked like a living room kind of, but it was like an alcove within it with a centerpiece unlike anything I'd ever seen. There was a giant padded gong with these wonderful fabrics covered with greens, blues, and purples, and some reds and oranges too, actually, like as part of the stitching or something. And he spun it counterclockwise, and I was waiting to hear something, but I know my hearing is not that great in the astral, and I couldn't hear anything. So I telepathed to him that I have trouble with hearing in the astral. And so he brought this gong in closer so I could observe the patterns, and it was utterly hypnotic. And he wasn't trying to hypnotize me or anything. He was like just showing me, hey, you can observe this if you can't hear it. And there were other artifacts and ornate statues around, clearly part of his personal collection. And I was loving his vibe so much, and his black jacket and all of that. And I'm not a gal to be scared of any shadow men, So, I, in a half joking way, I asked him, and I don't know why this came to me. Maybe it was this whole black jacket thing. I asked him what he thought of the one downstairs, meaning Lucifer, like Luciferianism, Lucifer, the devil. And I was asking him questions, and he was asking what I meant telepathically. And I was like, we were going back and forth so fast. And I was like, do you think he's a misunderstood archetype? Do you think it's a fake character in the universe? Are we in the Matrix? And all this other stuff I was asking him. I just wanted his general understanding of, the shadow world and all that. And he smiled completely unfazed. He was like, I'm middle of the road on that. No drama, no judgment, just about the balance. So I really liked that about him. Like, he was just like, oh, that. And when I asked what he does when he's not busy making films, he said he travels from temple to temple to temple. And he meant like these higher dimensional ones. So he's kind of a pilgrim of light. So somebody nearby who overheard us telepathing chimed in telepathically, hinting that Martin was kind of a womanizer. So I laughed and I was like, hey, it's the Astral. We're all just consciousness having a fun time here. And Martin clarified to her that I was a quote unquote friend. And even though I don't remember meeting him before, it did feel like reconnecting, like with an old travel partner from a forgotten journey or something. So I think I have known him like in the past, like maybe a past life. And I was thinking to myself, later after the fact, like even if he were a womanizer, I mean, come on, it's been, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of years since whatever our lifetime together might have been. I mean, of course he's gonna, have gotten around a bit. That's fine with, by me. Come on now. If I'm bored for hundreds and thousands of years, I'm going to have some fun too. So there is that. I don't think enough people take into account how much time can pass in these other realms. But anyway, before we parted, and I knew I was going to shift or wake up or something, he leaned in and whispered a mantra. Maharaja, Rashi, or maybe Rasha. Again, there was this wiggling of wording there. And, I think he was just giving me his astral ident. That's how to reach him, along with the other things that I experienced with him and just being with him there in that dimension. And so, it echoed in my mind, regal and rhythmic, and I kept saying it over to myself. So later when I woke up, it really clicked. Maharaja is Sanskrit for great king, which totally fits. And Rashi means collection or heap. It's an odd choice for a mantra as far as trying to go or get anywhere, but it's spot on for Martin because he is the Maharaja Rashi, the great king of collections. He has, these temples, stories, artifacts, and moments to share with everyone. So later that night, I still had one more, which was connected. I was pretty sure it was, but I could have been semi-dreaming by then. And I was in this glowing astral park, trees made of light, wide open skies. I asked around about Martin. Martin, what's going on with him? Telepathically, if anyone knew Martin. And the answers were mixed. One person said he disappeared during a night out at a bar, just disappeared. Another person called him, I think he's that guy with a cult. And, they're just footnotes to the episode, really. And I don't really know, but the park was beautiful and spacious. And I was still at least in 4 to 5D or something in one of those kinds of realms. And the people were trying to be helpful. So whatever that realm was, it was phenomenal. I met this great guy, Martin Skursky or Slursky, the, filmmaker who disappeared on somebody in some bar somewhere, and the king of collections. And oh my gosh, he had these wonderful items. I was trying to remember what they all were, but mainly I remember the gong. And this is hands down one of the most intriguing characters I have met out there. If he's still temple drifting, temple to temple, I hope our paths cross again soon. And who knows, maybe you'll meet him out there somewhere. Thanks for tuning into the Astral Tourist. I will be in the air on a jet in a few days, so it might take me time to get back to everyone. when I'm traveling, I do try to insert some bonus episodes here and there. And with the chronic fatigue passing and everything, I'm feeling pretty good. So, I will share what I can, but it will be with a travel mag, not this one. So, anyway, happy astral travels and travels between all the dimensions and worlds. Lots of love, everybody.